yes, this part was not in the loop that's been going around this morning, so it's me in person, and we're going to use some of Textease features. So let's run that. So hopefully that looks like a slide, and if I hadn't have told you it was done in Textease, you might have thought I'd done it in PowerPoint. So what is Textease? So Textease was an application originally written by Danny and Jeff of a company called Softease, and everything about both the title of the application and of the name of their company has the word easy in it, and it was all designed from the way that you interact with it first, and then how hard it was to program under the bonnet was a secondary thought. So they really focused on how the human and document interaction works. So there are some quite interesting user interface paradigms that I'll show a little bit later on, but it makes it really intuitive and easy to learn. And part of that was driven by the fact that it was originally aimed at a school audience as well. So when you see that Textease is a suite of 6 applications, the desktop publisher is probably the obvious one that you think about. That's essentially a glorified word processor that can integrate pictures and sound as well. There's a painting package, which is, we'll see in a moment anyway, but it has various extra features, and effects. So you can smudge the ink, for example. A simple spreadsheet, and the presenter is the thing that I'm showing these slides in. And then yes, the two that I always kind of sweep under the carpet are the turtle and branch part, which are very much focused on an educational market. So the turtle is a way that you can step forwards, turn left 90 degrees, and learn how to draw shapes using simple geometry. And branch is a classification database, so that you can figure out, if you have something with 8 legs on your hand, you can work out by working your way through classifications that that's probably a spider. But they do have alternate uses if you think a little bit outside the box. But they were originally primarily for education reasons. So yes, with the DTP package, it does everything you might expect from a word processor. So you can just start typing text anywhere you want on the page, set the text style, the font, the size. You can rotate the text. You can make it flow around graphics. So if you're trying to make something like a newsletter where you've got a photo of somebody and you want the text to flow around them in columns, you can do all of that. It has a built-in roughly 40,000 word spell checker, so it will pick out most of the not all English words, but most common words. And if it's something that you're writing that has a particular set of phrases that aren't common to English, so if it was a very technical document and you've got lots of computer terms in there, you can add your own words to the dictionary, and it will then recognize those from then onwards. So you're not constrained by just the base dictionary. Each of the pages is almost arbitrary in size, and then there's a poster printing option in the output stage. So if you need to print something that's a big collage that fits on a wall, you can design that in Textease, and then it will cookie cutter it out into A4 sized sheets of paper. And then if you have eSpeak available, such as you get with Pluto, then you can also get it to read back the words, which is quite an interesting way of proofreading something. I find if you sit staring at the page, it's very easy to muddle up from and form, whereas if you hear it back out loud, it's much more obvious when you hear the wrong word go past. So it's a different way of checking what you've written. So the graphics elements of it, you can drag and drop most of the common graphics formats that you'll find on RISC OS, so draw files, sprite files, JPEGs, that sort of thing. And depending on how well that comes out on Zoom, it will even process animated GIFs. So there's a little walking bunny rabbit there. may well be being mangled horribly by Zoom. And also ACE Films, which is part of the Complete Animator, which is an animation package that RComp has. There's also a limited database of clip art provided, and you can add your own to that. So that's vector graphics, bitmaps again. Essentially, it's a place to collect up and perhaps theme or organize your clip art. So if you're frequently doing a newsletter for a sewing club or something, then maybe you have a picture of a needle and a ball of cotton, and you use that almost every month. So you could put that in your clip art directory, use that. So the painting package, as I said, has many features beyond what you might find in the RISC OS version of Paint. So there are a variety of pens and pen styles. So there's chalk, marker pens, paint, and I mentioned effects that you could apply, so you can smudge the paint as though it were wet, which is quite a fun trick. And even within a live document, you can scribble on top of. Oops. Just use the freehand. You can scribble on top of a document as you are going, because essentially everything is a Textease document, and everything can have each of the different sub programs applied to it. So although this is being done as a presentation, I can switch the drawing pen on and scribble on top of it, and that's being treated as though it were a paint image. So Textease table is the spreadsheet element of Textease. It can import raw data from CSV files if you maybe output that from a basic program or something, or from Excel documents as well. And of course, it can store them in its own internal formats if you're manually entering data into a table. And then once you've got the data, you can apply styles to it again, much like you can for the fonts and the text in the DTP package. So if you need to have bright red sales figures to remind your sales guys that they've fallen below target that month, then you can color those sections in, or generate pie charts and bar charts to show trends over time. And I'll once we finish going through these few slides, I can show that in a more interactive or more live way, more interesting. Lots of slides. Textease Presenter is what we're looking at now. So essentially, it's a way of storyboarding Textease documents. So each of the pages within your presentation is actually just a normal Textease document. So if you need to have a picture that you've imported, a JPEG or something like that, and then flow some text around it, that can all be done. And really all the presenter is doing is stitching a sequence of those Textease documents together in an interactive way. And then at each of the page transitions, you can apply either a sound effect, so whiz, bang, kapow as the page changes from one to the next, or a fade. So this is using a slow fade between the pages, which again might not come out too great over Zoom. And then you can look at that from a much wider perspective, from the storyboard perspective, and shuffle around the pages as you want. So for this presentation, I started from a previous one, and then I realized actually I've already covered some of the material elsewhere, so it was very easy just to delete the slides that I didn't need. So Textease Studio, which is the collection of all 6 programs together, is 32-bit compatible and runs on pretty much any version of RISC OS. There are 3 flavors available. There's Textease Home, which has the core DTP package and the painting program. The educational one adds the turtle and branch and all of the others. And then the professional version has all of the previous ones, and additionally the spreadsheet and presenter modules. So I think rather than having a static screen showing are there any questions, it's much more fun to go and have a play and see if I can achieve something that I've just described. So let's open an Excel document quickly. So this is importing from Excel the rainfall from June in Cambridge, which there was not very much rainfall in June in Cambridge. I found only 52 millimeters. So even though we've entered this in Excel, or I scraped the data off the internet in Excel, the equations carry over. So for example, I summed all of those cells in Excel, and that has come out and added it up to 52 millimeters. If I then select and then create a chart, a line chart's not especially useful for showing rain. I think probably a bar chart is the sensible thing to do. Obviously, you can change the axes as appropriate. So if this was I don't know, percentage of time used on your timesheets, then you can change the axes to be expressed in percent. I want them in millimeters because this is rain. Rain makes more sense in millimeters. So that's me generating a chart. So having loaded it from Excel, if I'm now creating a DCP document, and I would put dear Mr. Weatherman, is how much rain there was in June. I can then, again, this is the way that the drag and drop in Textease works. You can pick up the chart and plop it straight into the middle of your letter. So this is now a Textease DTP document, but that we have borrowed a chart from the spreadsheet program. Or you can go back again if you want to put that back in. Oops, pick it up. You can put it back into the document if you want to carry on manipulating it. So for example, maybe I don't want the not very useful column headings and I'd rather have a bit more space for the data. A bit of zoom lag waiting for it to catch up. There we go. So you can drag and drop between the respective applications. Now maybe I want to put a millimeters label on that. That's no problem as well. So it's come out the wrong place in the window stack. Oops. The window stack. Now I can mix some text on top of the graphic for my chart. So that's an example of those two interacting together. Don't worry if the purple offends your eyes. That's just the way that my eyeballs work. So if you prefer a slightly more normal spreadsheet layout, that's fine. You can also turn off bits of the window furniture if you want to simplify the screens. If you don't like the scroll bars, you turn the scroll bars off, which makes it suitable if you're displaying it as something that's full screen. You don't have to leave the window furniture on if you were running it in a loop, for example, on a kiosk, like for a show like this. Just go like that now if you don't need the graphics in there.
Hi Rob, we just had a thing to say about the resolution of text on the screen is looking a bit scratchy. So I don't know if you can zoom into a section of the screen that you're showing, and that might be a little bit better.
Yeah, I can make it bigger. I don't think I can selectively zoom because of the way that the screen is being shared through my PC yet. So hopefully it's...
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, that's almost readable now for the text stop. Yeah, okay. Thanks.
So yes, let's take the example again. This will be quite small on if you're looking at it on something with a small screen. So here is an example of one of the classification examples for the Textease branch. So try and make it a tiny bit smaller, just so I can get it all on one screen. Don't worry too much about the detail. So you can see that at each point, the reason it's called Textease branches, you're essentially making a family tree of relationships. So I mentioned earlier, does it have 8 legs? Well, it's probably a spider. So with this one, yeah, does it have a skin? and you may not be able to hear it, but it's also reading out the questions using eSpeak. You probably can't hear that on my microphone. Yeah, does it have a stone? Okay, so no. Yes, it does contain pips. It is round. It is an apple. Yes. So you could imagine other situations where this might be useful. Does the person have brown hair? Are they 6 foot tall? Well, okay, it's probably my Uncle Philip or something like that. You don't have to use it for classifications of things where you're trying to teach primary school children whether an apple has pips or not. And if you want to know at any of these points, you can add extra pieces to the tree as you're going. So you could the Textease branch is a live document. It's not intended to be a fixed one in time. Let's have a quick look, making sure that I've done each one of these things. Very angelic looking photo of a child who has unfortunately ended up with red eye. So fortunately, one of the filters in Textease, so there are many filters. Let's show you the smudge one. There we go. So I can smudge with wet ink their hair. It's more fun if you use a normal painting tool, but there is a red eye reduction filter, so you can splot and gently touch up photos of people who have come out with red eye. And essentially all that's doing is it's doing a histogram of what's inside the center of the filter, and anything that's got a large fraction of red in it, it replaces with the surrounding color. So that's what most red eye, all most red eye reduction tools do. But of course, if there's red somewhere else in the photo, such as in the background here, by doing it with a much more selective filter, you can just pick out their eyeballs. If you want to integrate some graphics with that, I don't know, stick a birthday cake in, you can do that. Stick a light bulbs, because I'm into electronics. And here's an example of where the easy to use nature of Textease comes into play. So if you're picking up objects, they will naturally follow behind each other until the maximum amount is behind the thing that it's obscuring, and then it will jump to the top. So it's really it's very difficult to explain how that feels when you use it, but it avoids you for the most part having to mess around with layers within the document, because as you drag things around, it figures out what's the thing you're most likely to want as your focus is. So that works really well when you're dragging graphics around. So I think I've very quickly, in only 20 minutes, managed to scoot through each of the 6 applications that come with Textease. I don't know if anyone has any specific questions or things that they might want to see or for me to try and describe.
Yes, Rob. Is it possible on this to transform the slide background to a different color? Because in both the presentation I've seen, they were always white.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. I think. Let's see. So yeah, you can essentially use any graphic as the background, so it doesn't have to be a flat white. I tend to use flat white so that when I'm doing it, it doesn't matter if the viewer has a overscan on their screen, because they don't miss anything exciting from around the edge. But this is an example of one that has a non-white background, and it can be any arbitrary JPEG image, because yeah, each of the Textease slides is really just let's go back to the picture. Yeah, each of these is really just a individual document within a normal Textease document arranged in a grid. So yeah, so you don't have to have white by any means. No, that's just me.
Right, thank you very much. And when I use, for example, a dark background, font color and aliasing works fine?
Yes, yeah. So all of the text is anti-alias text, yes, yeah. So let's see if we can
Sorry, it's just that today the video resolution is very blurry. So, oh, I see. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Hi,
easier to
Rob.
show rather than doing. Yeah.
Right. What file formats can Textease documents be saved in, like PDF or anything like that?
So to get a PDF, you would need to print through a PDF printer driver. The documents themselves, each of the individual applications, you go to the save box, has a selection of the formats that it will export as. So for example, here when we're in a presentation, obviously it will save it as its own native format. You can also export them as draw files or even as web pages. Whereas if I went back to the Paint program where I had the image there, if you go to the save box here, instead you've now gained the ability to save as a JPEG or a sprite and so on. So generally for each of the 6 applications, its default is to save in its own file format, and then you get a subset or a selection of different formats that you can save in.
Okay, thank you.
I think I've got draw running. Just see if I can.
I got one more question. Does it already support PNG format? Because I saw the list, the sprite, JPEG, GIF, but I didn't see PNG. Maybe I'm just blind or something. I don't know.
Yeah, no, you're right. So we're currently teetering at version 5.99, and you can probably guess that I'm collecting up some big ticket features to put into version 6, and certainly both PNG import and export is definitely on the list for that. It's the obvious thing to do. So no, it doesn't support PNGs currently. It does support all kinds of so I guess earlier Windows file formats. So Windows meta files, it will import a Windows meta file, and so you can then save it out again as a draw file if you want, as a vector. Windows bitmaps, yeah, you spotted GIFs. Yeah, so there's an awful lot of file formats that it does support, but not currently PNG.
Right, thank you very much.
Yeah, I got another query about the painting program.
Yeah.
Can you get large shaped, nice looking fonts using that package?
So in the Paint, you can just remember which button it is. You can just type text. So it's hidden by the zoom toolbar. Maybe it's easier to start the other way around. I suppose, yeah, a different way of saying that is, yeah, let's do it the other way around, which is more sensible. If you start with, oh, this must be looking very odd and slow dragging while I'm doing it in there.
Yep.
it's much faster on the screen here. I'm just wanting to. Because let me turn off the paint toolbox instead. I think probably that is a different way of answering your question, is that you can take your picture from the Paint program and then mix it with the text that you already had. And the text that you already had is, you can rotate that or shrink it or right. Box.
And then you can save that to JPEG, presumably.
Yeah, so whichever way around you want to go, you can drag stuff between each of the packages. So if I made the text bigger, oops, make sure that this is going to drag nicely. There we go. So I can drag the text back in the other direction, from which I can then, save as a sprite or a JPEG and so on. So.
And in Presenter, strange one this one, because it's sort of cropped up in a couple of places. Could you put a real-time clock in a corner and a countdown clock, so you know what time it is and when it should finish? That's for everyone doing presentations, really.
No, I don't think. No, you can't do that.
No, because I know that I think you can get the clock, the actual time in PowerPoint.
Yes, yeah. So when you're setting up the presenter, you can set it to automatically advance between slides.
Yes. Yeah.
So you can, if it's unattended, or like I said, it was in a booth at a show stand or something like that. So yes, you could make it automatically advance and loop every, I don't know, 30 seconds or something like that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't show the times on a per slide basis. No. That's a good idea. I like that idea. I think that might have just ended up on the feature request list.
Well, that was what I was hoping.
Yes, yeah. I found that I have prepared. When I've been preparing with PowerPoint slides, it is very useful to be able to see, essentially, tell me how long this will take to run in total. Yeah. Because you might have set one of the slides that's got a lot of details on to reveal. Let's say it reveals 5 items every 10 seconds. Oh, yeah. That's a 50-second slide.
Yeah.
If you're only revealing one picture, that's only a 10-second slide.
That's right.
So yes, that's no. I like that idea. I like that idea.
I've worked with PowerPoint for many years. You may have guessed.
Yes, yeah. I'm all for blatantly stealing ideas from PowerPoint. Yes. So yes, the short answer is no. You can't show the per slide times. You can set them, but it won't tell you the total time. No. Good idea.
Well, presumably it'd be sort of like you'd need an overlay module because it's not part of Textease as such, is it? If you actually wanted to show time remaining, say we're giving a talk and it is half an hour, and it starts off as soon as you press start, it does 30-minute countdown.
Yes, yeah. It might be something that could be weaved in. The fades that go between slides can be quite complicated, so all of that list is generated from there's another program that generates the fade effects, and then they appear in that menu. I'm wondering if there's something I can do where building on top of that, making the fade effect have a fixed piece of text in the corner or something. But the short answer is no, not today, but I like the idea.
Well, as per ever, but it's a nice thing about RISC OS, you can at least ask somebody.
Yes, yeah.
Thanks, yeah.
Okay. I think that's all I know. Let's got a couple of questions to answer in the slides in the chat, which I will do in just a moment. No one else has got any questions that I need to answer in person.